I'm EZRAH and this is the Manila Times. In the midst of several issues surrounding the education sector, a new school year has begun. The Department of Education has reported a drop in the number of enrollees for school year 2023 to 2024. Meanwhile, the department is also dealing with an accumulated shortage of classrooms at 159,000. This school year, the government is set to test the new decongested K-10 program or the Matatag curriculum, all while the DepEd is being investigated by the Commission on Audit. And of course, the ongoing turf war between city governments of Makati and Taguig. The department has stepped in to mediate the transition, affecting around 45,000 students. Now, these learners have received their complete school supplies, and some of them even received both from Makati and Taguig city governments. Here with us today is Department of Education Assistant Secretary and Deputy Spokesperson, Francis Bringas. Welcome to the Manila Times, ASEC. ASEC, tell us, how did the opening of classes go and what is the current number of students enrolled nationwide?
Well, generally, our opening of classes yesterday was smooth and orderly, except for some areas where we have weather events, so then the schools had to adopt alternative delivery. Most of these areas in the northern part of Luzon, some in the southern part of Luzon, and in the Visayas region. But generally, it went well. And all our 24 million, more than 24 million for both public and private schools, trooped to our schools yesterday.
That's more than 24 million enrollees na po pala. Katulad po ng sinabi ni Yusek Poa, ay meron nga pong late enrollees. So, ASEC, is there a drop in the number of enrollees? Because I remember the department said they were expecting around 28 million students, but now we are up to more than 24 million na po. What factors can this drop be attributed to?
And that is for all the levels. We have public, private, local universities and colleges. We have the state universities and colleges, including our alternative learning system. But as of today, since we only have 24 plus million, we are looking at it as the schools have not yet completely uploaded their data to our learner information system, because the number that we are releasing are actually coming from the consolidated number from our centrally managed learner information system. And it takes some time for our schools to really upload the complete enrollment data, considering that this is online as well. And considering also that we are still accommodating late enrollees. So within the week or in the next week, we will be expecting an increase in the number.
So, ASEC, it's too early to tell, to say na merong drop sa enrollees. So, it will be until next week pa po. On another question po, Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte said the proposed 758 billion budget for DepEd for 2024 is not sufficient. So, how much will be the sufficient budget for DepEd, and how much of this budget will be dedicated to the building of classroom? Because as you know, there's a current shortage of 159,000 classrooms.
Yeah, we recognize the current shortage of classrooms that we have, but in the budget that we have proposed to the Department of Budget and Management, we actually have a higher budget that we proposed, but the NEP that came back to us is that amount that you mentioned, around 758 billion. But we also have another wish list, which we are again submitting to Congress and the DBM actually for consideration. But with the approved NEP for the department, around 10 billion plus will be allotted for new construction of classrooms, and that is only good for over 7,000 classrooms nationwide. No, so definitely in the short term or in the midterm, we will not be able to meet all these backlogs in our classrooms. But as mentioned by the Secretary in the budget hearing earlier, because we cannot be assured of this in the midterms, we are looking at exploring and pursuing really a two-track of our delivery of our curriculum that is using the traditional way, and then exploring and going into the digital and technology-enabled delivery of our curriculum. So we are going to institutionalize blended learning starting this school year.
That's good to hear, ASEC. So which areas or which regions are you looking at to build those initial 7,000 classrooms po?
Well, we have a priority listing in the department. It's actually a long list that we have, but given the fact that we have been ravaged by so many climatic disasters and typhoons and so on, we are really prioritizing those areas that are heavily affected by these natural disasters, including those schools whose classrooms are still makeshift or non-standard classrooms, because our aim is to be able to put a standard classroom in all these areas so that we will be able to provide our learners a roof and not only temporary learning spaces, but standard classrooms. So we have a priority listing that we have with our strand that takes care of our school infrastructure and facilities.
Sir, will Bulacan be part of this priority list? Because currently they're still flooded, and some reports would say that they are taking shifts in their classes.
Yes, definitely. Bulacan is part of the priority because of the current flooding that we had, but they will be categorized under the rehabilitation and repair, specifically major rehabilitation or major repairs of classrooms, and that is outside the 10 billion fund that I mentioned earlier. Because our basic education facilities fund covers new construction, major repairs, Gabaldon buildings, and last mile schools.
Yes, sir. Lastly, for Makati and Taguig, now that the school's supplies have been distributed, and DepEd have mediated between the two local governments, and all students have begun their classes, will the DepEd move to buy or rent these 14 schools from under Makati City government for an official transition to Taguig?
For actions like that entails a budget allocation. Presently, in our proposed 2024 budget, we don't have a line item for renting, leasing, or buying private properties or private schools that have closed to accommodate our public schools. But that is also a direction that we are looking at in the long term. So we will consider that, and then we will also see the viability of such proposals if there are going to be some proposals that to that matter.
All right. Lastly, sir, pahabol pa. Will there be additional budget to monitor sexual harassment and grooming in some schools that have been reported?
Our budget for activities like those or programs that are supportive of activities like those are actually lodged in our Bureau of Learner Support Services, which is under the operations strand, and it covers the offices of the Learner Rights and Protection Office. We have youth development programs or youth formation division and other support services that are related to health issues and bullying, harassment, child abuse, and the like. So they are incorporated or integrated in our Bureau of Learner Support Services allocation.
Another one pa po, sir, for the school calendar, so a lot of before we moved the school calendar to August, given the amount of typhoons that goes through the Philippines by the time of June or July. So now naman ang concern is mainit na tuwing May, which is the summer time. So is the department looking to adjust the school calendar for this school year?
We are not yet looking positively at a June opening for next school year, of course, because our current school year, which opened yesterday, will end in June 14. So we cannot sacrifice the 2-month vacation for learners and for teachers as well, just to be able to open in June next year for 2024-2025. Although we have already explored the possibility of transitioning gradually into a June opening, because we are trying to consider all factors aside from climatic conditions. We are also considering factors as benefits of teachers for the 2-month proportional vacation pay that is after every school year. And we are also looking into budget allocation or budget availability given the fiscal space that we have, budget availability for possible payment of overtime pay if ever we are going to shorten the entitlement of 2 months vacation for teachers.
Thank you so much for that, Department of Education's Assistant Secretary and Deputy Spokesperson Francis Bringas. Maraming salamat po, Ase.
Maraming salamat, Ezra.